Strike Back Season 4, Episode 8. Definitely an interesting episode, especially the stuff that happened with Locke. I think, despite all the other cool stuff that happened in this episode, that was definitely the most impactful scene because it was certainly the most emotional scene, but it was also something that's been a story since the previous season, which at this point is like 2 years because it's taken longer for this season to come out. But we've had that backstory for him for quite some time now. And when he found out in the last episode that this guy could be the one, that killed my son, it was pretty cool. And we even got like a crazy little twist where the bomber, whose name of course I can't remember, he's actually, or at least was, a part of like a government organization, and he was meant to kill Locke because basically Locke was doing his job and was getting too close instead of being like, hey, this guy's actually undercover, unbelievably ultra deep cover, and just this is what's happening. Just let it go. He's actually working for us. He's doing some really crazy stuff. Like, it was beyond other stuff you see where it's like, oh, I'm an undercover cop. I've shot people and stuff. He was an undercover terrorist. Like, seriously. So very different. Very advanced compared to just, oh, I'm a undercover cop who has to deal with, playing by the villain's rules and stuff and actually shooting people. This is like, I'm like blowing people up and stuff. And instead of just bringing Locke into it and saying, hey, stop, they were basically put a hit out on him. His own government did. So that was a crazy revelation that is just insane, to be totally honest. That was just like completely insane when he revealed that to him. And we had an amazing scene where Locke had to decide if he was going to shoot this guy or not. And it was just a good scene. And it was like, and the guy's like, you're a good person. You're not a murderer. You're not a killer. And he's like, you're the exception. And it was for his son. And it made perfect sense. And it's like, he's going through this stuff. And he just he has the guy, finally, he has the answers and he has the man right in front of him. And he has to decide, and he makes the decision to kill him. And I can't hate him for that. I don't think anyone could. I mean, even Scott and Stonebridge was like, we understand. And he kind of said, like, don't lie or anything. It was like, we didn't say it was good. It was just, we understand. The two of them have certainly gone through more than enough stuff to comprehend where he was coming from by, at least he had all the answers. He may not have gotten the guy in there because he killed him. But he did technically already have all the answers that he was at least going to get out of the guy. And whatever else was there. So it was like, we didn't say it was good, but we understand. Like, it's what you felt was right. It's kind of what you had to do. Especially, he was like tormented for years for that stuff. Like with Scott and Stonebridge, it was much more recent sort of vengeance type stuff. And with him, that was like years and years later. So I thought that was a great scene. It was kind of crazy to see him do that because it was a scene where he had the choice to let this man live, and it wasn't like a fighting back and forth thing like in other scenes where it's like, oh, they're shooting at me, I have to shoot them to get out of this. He had him dead to rights, and he made that decision, and it was a very, very powerful scene. I actually really, really loved it. I thought it was really cool. The other big things that happened in this episode, of course, I love the fact that this episode technically started with the end scene of the last episode. I don't think they'd done that at all in other episodes of the series. So I actually thought that was kind of cool. Like, that's exactly where it starts up, even a little bit behind where the episode actually ended, and it's her walking up to the door. And then they walk out, we have a cool little motorcycle chase. They don't get to Lena or Quan, so, they escape, but they do have Quan tagged later in the episode. And then we have, I'm completely drawing a blank. I want to say her name's Sasha, but I'm pretty sure that's totally wrong. But she gets rescued. Seemingly, she's gone. Like, I'm pretty sure she's going to come back, but she does have her guy, and she puts him in the trunk, and they beat him up. And she's like, if you guys need help again, call somebody else. And then she's gone. I don't know if she's 100% gone, because, it's getting towards the end of the series, and I feel like what they did with her character, there's more that they could say just to have certain moments. Although I guess technically we did kind of get her whole backstory. Like, well, I used to do this undercover. This was my friend. This is, where we always used to meet. She thought it brought her good luck. this was the guy that knew me and stuff like that. But I felt like it was just like, boom, she's got him, and then that's it. But she, I guess, in a weird way, that does kind of, that could at least conclude her story. So it wouldn't be weird, thinking about it. It does kind of wrap it up. Like, she got the guy finally, and it's like, I'm gonna take him where he's supposed to go, and I'm not gonna kill him, even though she of course wants to. But she's probably gone for sure. I don't know. I keep forgetting. I never check how many episodes we have for this season, but she could totally come back. If there's something else that happens, she could easily come back. But for now, seemingly, that was kind of it. They went through all the craziness, crazy cool action scene as well. Some of the stuff they showed, but she got her guy, and it's like, well, done. Like, we're done and done. So she may or may not return. It seemed like, like I said, based on the dialogue, where she's like, if you guys get in trouble again, call somebody else. Seems like she could just be gone for good, but it's Strike Back, so they're gonna need help, and they aren't gonna have anyone else. So I'm pretty sure we'll see her at least one or two more episodes before the show actually does end. But it was cool to see her have that sort of resolution, and we'll probably see what happened exactly, what she did with the guy when she does come back, if she does. Other great stuff before, of course, she called the guy. The crazy intense scene with Scott and Stonebridge, where they're just trapped in the APB vehicle. That was really cool. The whole chase scene was really sweet. And then, okay, first off, and this is at the very beginning, when they get out of the tunnel and get arrested by the cops, and then they basically, it's just like they skip a scene and all the cops are just beat up and tied up. I thought that was really funny. I think that's something else they've never done in the show, and it was like a comedic fight scene where they didn't have to show it, and it was like, and plus it was a bunch of people, so it made it a little bit funnier, because it was like probably 5 or 6 guys, and it's the two of them, and they were already hands in the air with guns and stuff, and it's like, all right, I think they counted to 3, and then it was just like, boom, and they, everybody was tied up, and they stole the police car. So that was funny. The actual chasing was really sweet, because they were able to get the APB. They had the really awesome scene where they crashed the truck through the explosives, and it just looked, visually, it just looked really sweet, the way the flames were like just flying back because they were going so fast. And I don't know if you guys checked out like this sort of behind the scenes stuff that they have for each episode, where they kind of talk about how they went through like the big set piece moment for each episode. And the truck was definitely the one for this one, so it was really cool watching that again and just seeing the different behind the scenes angles and stuff like that. So it was a really cool scene, and I loved it in slow motion. It was like, man, just the way the flames were being forced back onto the truck, it just looked so cool. And it was like, it's something like I've never really seen before, because typically if something crashes and it's on fire, it's like, oh, it's a car on fire. And even then it doesn't look that cool, but that was just like, it was like they just threw napalm straight on the front glass, and it just went boom, just flying away. But it was like the center was still right in front of the glass. You couldn't see either of them either. It was just like sheer flames, and it was just really cool. So I love that scene. Also very intense, them being trapped in this truck, and then of course it's on fire. The guys are able to get the final piece. And I'm like jumping all over the place too, because that was like way before the stuff with Locke. But they get the final piece so the guy can make the bomb. And then they're like shooting up the truck and stuff, so Scott and Stonebridge can't get out of the car. Of course, though, they do the TV thing, and it's like they could totally just wait and just drive back like a little bit. But instead, they were like, all right, let's get in the car, and then they just take off. And then that allows for Scott and Stonebridge to hop out like right before it blows up. But I love that scene. It was actually really cool. And it was just a nice multi-layered chase scene where it's like they started off in the tunnels on the motorcycles, then they had to beat up the cops and steal their car. I can't even remember, honestly, because I watched the episode like days ago. I've just been way off with my reviews, having to just watch a bunch of stuff and stack it and try to remember. But, it starts off with them in the car, then they have to switch out of that, they get the APB, and then they get basically defeated in that after they crash. But it was really fun. It was a great scene. It was, like I said, definitely the set piece moment for this episode, with the flames just on the truck. Just looked so cool to me. And then they escape, and we have the bomb actually constructed. It's fully constructed before Locke gets there. If I remember right, Lina and Quan do get the bomb in this episode, or it's somewhere else where they're able to get to it. And then we have, and I'm remembering now, Scott and Stonebridge had the nerdy guy that they had to rescue in this episode, which, that was a weird one. It started off, it was like just this random guy, and then it turns out he was working with Quan and Lina. And it's like, holy crap, he was actually working with them the whole time. They have to chase him down. I love the scene. I can't remember. I'm pretty sure it was Scott. And he's like, he's telling him to freeze. He's like, oh, what are you going to do? You're going to shoot me? And then he was like, you can't do that. And he just shoots him in the leg. And I'm like, yep, that makes perfect sense to me. So I did love that scene and his character. And then, of course, after he translates everything to Quan, he's, he was kind of a douchey character, but I think that was kind of the point. He was so nerdy, but at the same time douchey. And then, of course, it doesn't matter because he just gets shot. It's like, thanks for translating. Boom, and he's dead, and he's, pushed right out of the car. So that's gone. But that was a cool action scene as well when they first go in, and then they have to, like, jump across this stuff. That was really sweet. I really thought that was a cool scene. And them just in the room, and, like, they hold up the guys. That was pretty crazy. And the one guy puts his guns down. He's like, I have a family. And then the other guy kills him because he gave up. Like, I want to get back to my family. So he kills that guy, and of course then he gets killed. So that was pretty crazy. I was like, man, that kind of sucked. He was of course one of the bad guys, but it was like, that kind of sucks though, because he was doing it to get back home, and then he got shot in the head by the guy he was actually working with. So that was pretty weird, but it was definitely cool seeing them doing the little hops across, and then they go through and have their little, once again, crazy little shootout in an enclosed space. Always really fun to watch. Definitely a great episode, though. I mean, the villains got the weapons. They technically killed one of the villains. I mean, he already made the bomb at that point, so it was kind of just a revenge moment for Locke, which, like I said, definitely loved it. So that was really cool. I'm pretty sure her name is not Sasha at all. I just can't think of it, but she got her guy, so she's, in a way, kind of got her vengeance. She didn't get to kill him, but, she got her guy. We got a really cool multi-layered chase scenes, like several of them as well, technically. So definitely a fun episode. The villains still have their weapon. They have their ultimate weapon even now. So they have their ultimate weapon for, however many episodes it takes for them to figure out, like, the last components and what they're going to do with it. But it's really ramping up, and I'm excited for it. It was definitely a cool episode. Action, of course, was good. Like I said, I love the way that it started exactly where the last episode ended. So that was just pretty fun. It just kind of made the episodes it was almost like part one and part two in a sense because of the way they did it. So I love that. And these episodes certainly did fit together perfectly because the first one was like the bank robbery stuff where they do everything, and it's like, all right, we get this book for these symbols. And then the second episode, which would be this one, or part two if you wanted to look at it that way, this was totally about them decrypting the signals, or the symbols, sorry, inside the book. And that's why they hired, like, the nerdy guy, and he did exactly what he was supposed to do. And it's like, all right, we have the components, and now they have the bomb. So these were definitely two episodes that fit perfectly together. And this is definitely a cool second part, especially the stuff with Locke. Like, that was just really good. Like, it was one of the great emotional moments. They always do emotional moments really well, of course, in this show. And it's just always good to watch the characters when they have to face off against, that one person that did something. Like, that one person that killed whoever they loved. Everyone that's ever had that has gotten their moment, mostly because they're the good guy, so that's how the shows just work out. And I'm sure we'll get to see Scott do it by the end of the series when he gets the chance, when he gets to Lina. Because he didn't have it when they were in Korea because he had to keep her alive so they could escape. But when they get her, maybe it'll be in the final episode. But, man, when Scott gets that chance, it'll be something. And they kind of, bring up Richmond again, and it should be fairly emotional. I'm actually kind of looking forward to that, him getting his revenge for something that was very dramatic, very sad. Had me crying this season. But I love this episode, of course. I want to know what you guys thought about this one, so please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts. And I think, of course, with the biggest moment being Locke in his decision to kill the bomb maker, I want to know what you guys thought about that scene. Because for me, completely loved it. It was very emotional, very well done, kind of surprising. Of course, the revelations were surprising, but just the way it ended, where he had to be a little different because the guy's even saying you're not a murderer. You don't really kill people. It's defense, sure, but you don't murder people. And just the line where like you're the exception. That was a great line, and that was I think that was still like 2 minutes before he actually did it because they still had a back and forth after that. But just the way it ended, where he's like just saying it over and over, and the guy's like, you're a good person," and he's just thinking to himself, and I can't remember. I wish I could remember exactly what words he was saying, but it was the same thing, like, "You're not a killer," and he was just stuck in this moment in time, and like he was stuck in exactly where he was, and exactly at the moment where he saw his son die, and I just love that scene. But like I said, I want to know what you guys thought about it, as well as the episode as a whole. So please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.